All right, Casino. Now it is time for what everybody's here for, and that is
MVPs.
what?
Oh, I thought we were doing MVP.
No, we are doing your NFC teams first, Casino, and then we'll
Oh,
go
look
to
at
mine.
that. Look at you. Oh,
Yeah,
perfect
let me
timing. My
take.
son's about to wake up. My wife's almost home. This is all ending out perfectly. All right, Casinos NFC teams.
So you have the Lions as the number 1 seed,
Uh-huh.
followed by the Eagles, Falcons, and 49ers.
To win their
Correct?
divisions out. Yes.
All right, make the case for each briefly.
Okay, Lions, their toughest competition is going to not the Bears. It's going to be the Packers. But and a lot of people have the Packers being the number one for that division. And you know what? I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I think that's a solid argument for people, especially if Jordan Love can play how he played and now getting paid, and maybe that boosts him. But I don't see. We talked about it last podcast. I don't see how the Lions, who were great last year in every facet of the game, only getting better, how they could not be the number one overall seed. I just can't see how that's not possible. I just don't. I just can't. Eagles, I see it because the Commanders are going to be better. I have them making. We'll get to that, making the wild card. But the Cowboys, I think they're going to be a dumpster fire, especially with CD getting paid and Dak having now issues, vocally having issues with Jerry Jones, and then the Giants, as I alluded to, one of my top 5 worst teams. Falcons, everybody that they acquired, I love Kirk Cousins. You know this. He's the best. Even my wife loves him. After they did the quarterback show on Netflix last year, she was like, "Oh, he's such a dweeb," and I love it. He's great. He's such a dork. I love Kirk Cousins. I think he's going to do really well. Yes, he's coming off of injury, but the rest of that team is going to be outstanding, that I think that he can pull that off, especially in a weaker division. The Bucks are going to be good because I think a lot of people are overlooking how the Bucks are going to do. Niners coming out of that division. I like your hot takes, but I don't. The Niners. I still think, especially with them keeping Brandon Ayuk.
Well, and they re-signed Trent Williams today as well.
Yes,
So.
and Trent Williams finally got signed. And yes, I do know that McCaffrey is coming off an injury, but he always comes off an injury and he's still always really good. So that's one that I don't have to ever worry about whenever McCaffrey comes back from an injury and you have to question, oh, is he going to be good? Every injury that he's had, every time he comes back, he's elite, elite, elite. So I have no issues with him coming back off of injury. I think he's still going to be absolutely stellar. So Niners win. There we go.
All right. Now let's move on to my NFC teams, Casino, which are the same, except
for your hot
literally,
take.
Yeah, just switch out Rams and 49ers. So
you just hate the Niners. That's
well, no, I'm
thing.
just saying everybody's acting like there's the Super Bowl hangover isn't real, even though it
Oh,
happens every year, and then people are shocked by it.
That's going to be real. I just don't see them doing it.
Well, I still think we'll get to them in a second, but I still see them in the playoffs, just not winning their division. I agree with you, however, that I do see the Lions be the number 1 seed. I see Eagles being right behind them. Falcons, I mean, I agree with your wife when it comes to Kirk Cousins. He's had a whole
he's so likable.
He's had a whole season, a whole off season to wear his little helmet thing he does that makes his reads process faster. So that's a lot more helmet time for Kirk Cousins. Who knows? He's going to come back as half AI, half Kirk Cousins.
And he might have gotten the tan too. I mean, so now when he takes off his shirt and wears all of his chains, he'll actually not blind me. Yeah. I don't know what was more blinding, the chains that he was wearing or his body.
So. And we are one to talk about that. So,
oh yeah, I am so white. This is not a shirt.
Rams, I just made the case for them in my hot takes. I just think the Rams are going to be really good. I trust Sean McVay, and they're not coming off Super Bowl hangover. They also might have found another rookie wide receiver who just lights them up, so I think they're going to be explosive. Next up, Casino, you had your wild card teams as the Green Bay Packers, the Tampa Bay Bucks, and the Washington Commanders. We heard the case for Washington, so make the case
for why not the Cowboys? Yep.
Yes, so make the case for Green Bay and Tampa.
Well, Green Bay, I truly do think they're going to have a good season. The more I'm looking into that team, yes, honey. Okay, I'll help you. Give me 1 second. I really think that this team is going to be better than I even think they were. It all comes down to Jordan Love,
Yes.
but I think I'm falling more on the line of Jordan Love's going to pull this off. I
Yeah.
do. So I like what the Packers are doing. I think they'll do it. The Bucks, I think everybody's just not paying attention to them. I think Baker Mayfield down there having a full season with his team and not coming in partial and coming in off the bench. I really think now that it's firmly in his grasp that he's going to be able to handle this and get. It's going to be close. It's going to be close, but I think he's going to get it. Yes, honey. My wife's almost home, so she wants to look out the window and she needs help putting up the blinds.
There you go.
Continue. Go.
Yeah. So my pick for wild cards, similar to casinos, I do think, however, it's going to be switched around a little. I think the 49ers, again, I've made my case for the Rams over the 49ers, which is I think the 49ers, I don't wish again any injuries, but I just think what we saw last year is the outlier compared to what they always are, which is an injury ridden team to their superstars. So I think a couple of those guys go down. Again, McCaffrey goes down, Debo goes down, Kittle goes down. That changes what this 49ers team is. We even saw in the Super Bowl, a couple of their defensive guys went down. So again, I just think more wear and tear on this team's body after a long season last year. And again, also, you can't discount the drama in the offseason kind of being a cloud over this team. I know everybody's happy and got paid now, but still a little dissension. They say they're all together, but again, I don't buy it. With Tampa Bay, basically what Casino said, I agree with. Baker, another full season under his belt.
I
The
love
NFC
that both of our hot takes are the only things that mess up our picks.
Yeah. Well, because I think also the NFC being such a weak conference, opens the door up for a Bucks team coming from, again, a weak division in the NFC South. And then the Green Bay Packers, I argued with the guy the entire weekend in our comments, acting like I think the Packers are going to be a bad team. No, I just don't think they're going to be as good as the Lions, but they have the youngest team in the league. I like all their
And
weapons.
look what they did
I like
last year with the
Jordan
youngest
Love.
team in the league with a quarterback that only had a half a good season.
Yeah. So I
Like,
think
there's a big upside for this Green Bay Packers team.
I just don't think they're better than the Lions. Because
I don't think
again,
any team's better than the Lions.
No, when we did the NFC North preview, the Lions have a top 5 in everything offensively and defensively.
Last year, and that was last year, and they got even better.
And they didn't lose anybody, didn't lose any coaches, signed a couple good free agents. The Lions are better, but the Packers are right there. Who knows? Maybe next year we'll pick the Packers over the Lions. But
Possibly.
Next up, Casino, let's move over to the AFC. You have the Chiefs as the number 1 seed, followed by Bills, Ravens, Texans. What order would you put these in? Number 1 seed you do think is Chiefs.
Chiefs, Ravens, Texans, Bills.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I have it. So I have the Chiefs until the Chiefs lose. It's that whole Tom Brady thing. Until Tom and Bill lose, I can't bet against it. Until the double defending Super Bowl champions in Kansas City trying to do history and do the three-peat, until they lose with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, I can't bet against them to not be the number 1 in the AFC. I just can't.
Yeah.
For the regular season. Bills, it's going to be between the Bills and the Dolphins because I just don't see the Jets. And I agree with you. The Jets are going to be closer to the Patriots than the other two. By the way, did you get my picks wrong here?
No.
Go. Continue. Go.
Well,
yep. So sorry. My hot takes. All right, continue. Yes. So yeah, that's what do you want me to elaborate on there, sir?
No, sorry. Ravens, Texans makes sense. Let's go to mine, Casino. Ours are very different in the AFC for it when it comes to teams. I think the Ravens will end up being the number 1 seed again because, again, I think the difference between the Chiefs and the Ravens is the Chiefs are a very regular season focused team, and then they kind of shit the bed in the playoffs, where I think it's flipped for the Chiefs. The Chiefs, my case against the Chiefs this year, they've been telling us all offseason. Travis Kelsey's been talking about it. Mahomes has been talking about it. Reed has been talking about it. They've been talking about how their emphasis is not on the regular season, it's in the playoffs. Last year, they showed they don't need home field advantage through the playoffs. They went on the road the entire way through the playoffs, still made their way to the Super Bowl, still won it. So this notion that the Chiefs are just going to be 15-1 during the regular season and just coast to the Super Bowl, it's like the Chiefs themselves are telling you they're not going to put emphasis on the regular season. So again, they're also doing something that has never been done, not in the past decade, not in the past 20 years, in the history of the NFL. Now, again, we've had teams and dynasties before in the NFL that have never done what the Chiefs are attempting to go for, that we thought without a shadow of a doubt, we thought in the 90s, we thought the Cowboys were this unbeatable team that would go win every Super Bowl every year. Then we thought it was the 49ers in the 80s. In the 2000s and 2010s, we thought it was the Patriots that would just always win every Super Bowl. But then when you look back at it, they have their peak and then they start going down a little and it slips slightly and then they just fall off a cliff, every single one of these teams. So again, in the Brady Patriots era, there was a 10-year period where they weren't in the Super Bowl or they weren't winning them, right? It's like they were getting there and losing, or they were losing early in the playoffs. So for the Chiefs, nobody has made a compelling case to me why the Chiefs are such a better team than all those Patriots teams thought would win 10 Super Bowls in a row. The reason they didn't is because it's really hard and
Yeah.
other teams get good. You slip up once in a playoff game, you go home. We saw it again in the Chiefs Patriots game. All it took was an offsides to prevent the Chiefs from going to the Super Bowl. Like little things here and there are what happens that stop teams' momentum. Now, again, when it comes to the Dolphins, I just think they're the best team in the AFC East. I think the Bills are going to have a down year. I don't think the Patriots are going to do anything. And we made the case earlier against why I think the Jets are just going to be, for lack of a better terms, a dumpster fire and closer to the Patriots than the Dolphins and Bills. Texans, you can basically say the same thing about them as you say for the Packers, but in the AFC. Really young team, really unknown last year, exploded on the scene. There's no reason to think every young player on that team doesn't get better. And then the Ravens, led by the MVP, they've always been a great always a great regular season team. The question for them is the playoffs. Casino, now we move on to your AFC wildcard teams. You have the Bengals, Dolphins, and Chargers. So really, the only team we differ on being in the playoffs is the Bengals. So make the case for the Bengals because, as I said earlier, I think they're going to be a dumpster fire.
I don't. How do you see the Bengals being a dumpster fire? They're going to be a good team. Joe Burrow's coming back healthy. He had no business playing last year. Zilch. And he had two different injuries. He had the leg injury, and then he had the hand injury. He should not have been playing. We all know that. And they still had a decent season. Jamar Chase is waiting for him to come back. He's drooling to have his boy back on the field. And that hairdo, that hairdo, that's got me fired up. He looks like a Bengal. He's excited.
I didn't pick. I should have thought of the haircut when I picked the Bengals to go to the playoffs.
Dude, that's edgy,
that's
man.
Right. That's right. I left it off.
That's edgy. No, he looks great. I really, really like. I really like the Bengals. I think Joe Burrow is going to have a really good bounce back year. I have trouble with you not thinking the same thing. But the Chargers all day. I love that team. We've been on that team for so long. I know you hate Justin Herbert. I know you can't stand him. However, I really do think with Harbaugh coming in, he's won at every level. He is outstanding. You know, he's finally, as he alluded to, he can now sit at the big kid table at Thanksgiving because he's won a title, which I thought was funny, that whole interview where He was the only one out of his dad and brother that he was not able to sit at the big kid table during Thanksgiving, but
Yeah.
now he can. He's outstanding. I love that coach. Michigan brought him in to turn that organization around, and oh boy did he! Oh boy did he! Out of a fluke from TCU 2 years ago, they could have been back-to-back title winners.
Yep.
It truly could have been. Dolphins. I just don't think there's any other teams in the AFC that I could think of that I don't trust the Rams like you do.
Well, the Rams are in the NFC.
Or not the Rams. Who did you have that I'm missing?
I had the AFC. I had the Chiefs, Bills, and Jags.
Got it. Jags. No. I know Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I'm still mad at him for being our MVP pick last year. Didn't work out. Screw him. Screw it. But I think the Dolphins are going to do well enough because no matter how much Tua talks shit and all this, you still have Tyreek Hill, and until that man stops breaking records, and he finally loses, a couple miles per hour in his freaking run, I can't bet against him to not at least make the playoffs, especially when they're going to beat up on the Bills or beat up on the Jets and beat up on the Patriots. There's 4 wins for you right there.
Yeah.
And any team going down into Miami, every team struggles to play in Florida. It's just what it is. Yeah. Even Florida State struggles to play in Florida.
I just alluded to my AFC wildcard teams. I have the Chiefs as the best of the wildcard teams just because, like Casino said, I think Harbaugh comes in there. Again, the issue with the Chargers.
Chiefs? You mean Andy Reid just being too good?
No, Jim Harbaugh being too good.
Oh, and the Chargers beating the Chiefs. Fair enough.
Yes.
Got it.
And I think, again, the Chiefs' focus, they've said multiple times, is the offseason. They don't care about the regular season. They don't need to go 15-1 to make it to the Super Bowl in the playoffs. So I think there's going to be a couple games they lose during the regular season just because.
My kids
they always do.
Keep talking.
I do think the Bills, this is the last gasp for the Bills. I also think it's the last gasp of Josh Allen to really show what basically everybody thinks about him, which is he wasn't a good quarterback until he got Stephon Diggs, and then he got other weapons because apparently, again, every quarterback is not allowed to have weapons because then the argument against them being good or bad is based on the weapons they have. And then everybody goes, oh, well, Patrick Mahomes doesn't have weapons. Yeah, he also has the best offensive, potentially the greatest offensive-minded coach in the history of the NFL. He also went to a team that was a 10-win team with Alex Smith before he even stepped on the field. So again, he might not have weapons, but he also has the greatest offensive coach in the league. Oh, also, he did have weapons. He had Tyreek Hill, and then last year he didn't, and that's why everybody's picking him to win the Super Bowl again this year, because now he actually does have weapons with Hollywood Brown and Worthy out of Texas. So I just think the case for the Jags, I agree with Casino that us picking Trevor Lawrence last year was dumb and really came back to bite us in the ass. But just going through all the stats and everything with the Jaguars, I just think last year, again, I'm just banking on it being a bad year because, again, last year, 13th in the league in total offense, 22nd in the league in total defense. They got a new defensive coordinator who came over from the Falcons. Falcons had a much, much better defense last year. So if they're able to bring that whole thing. Also, I have Brian Thomas Jr., their first-round wide receiver pick, in every fantasy league I've done. So I just hope he pops off, has a great season. The Jaguars are back again in a weak conference with a bunch of mystery teams. So yeah, I'm picking, those are my wildcard teams. Now, Casino, let's move on to our Super Bowl pick. Yours, you've already alluded to in past episodes, and in this episode, you have the Super Bowl being the Lions versus the Ravens. Who's winning that one?
I have the Lions winning the Super Bowl.
Woo!
I have the Lions finally getting it done. I really do. I mean, as long as they don't pull a Dan, they're all good.
Yeah. So you have who in the AFC Championship? You have Chiefs, Ravens, and then Ravens finally topping them?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. This goes back to my hot take number 2, which is it just said see my Super Bowl matchup. My Super Bowl matchup, it's going to be a repeat. That's what my hot take is going to be because again,
Homer.
we never have
Homer.
we never have Super Bowl matchups that either we haven't seen or that everybody's hyped to see, right? Look at last year. Last year, everybody was like, can't wait for that Ravens Lions Super Bowl. Didn't happen. We got a repeat of a Super Bowl we've already seen, and then the same outcome happened where it was 49ers Chiefs again. We made videos about how nobody wanted that Super Bowl. And my Super Bowl pick this year, I think it's going to be the Eagles and I think it's going to be the Chiefs. I think the Eagles Lions go into the NFC Championship game and the Eagles pull it out. And then it's going to be the Chiefs because, again, they're going to be a team
This
that
isn't hot takes. This isn't hot takes anymore.
yeah, but what I'm saying is I have the Chiefs as a wild card team. Everybody's going to be talking so much shit about them. And then they're going to be like, is this the year the Chiefs finally don't go to the Super Bowl? And then they're going to play 3 games. They're going to turn it on. It's going to look like a completely different team, go all the way to the Super Bowl. And then as an Eagles fan, I cannot take them losing another Super Bowl. So do I think they will win?
No.
Sure. Sure. I
No.
want them to win. But again, I will not bet against anybody in against the Chiefs in the offseason or in the postseason or in the regular season. I think they'll be a wild card team because they just won't give a shit about the regular season and save all their good
I just don't
plays,
think they're going to be.
all their energy.
Oh man, I don't know, man.
I just think again, the Lions, being a Lions fan, being an Eagles fan, being a Vikings fan, it's just endless pain. So the endless pain has stages,
and
and
it
this
has
will
to
be
stop
another
at
stage.
some point.
But does it? The Eagles won a Super Bowl.
So
I'm
what you're
still in pain
saying is
about them every year.
The Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs, conference final is going to come down to a hip drop tackle. That's what you're saying.
I mean, if it does, this podcast, everybody will be calling us Nostradamus.
Oh yeah.
Last bit before we get out of here, Casino. Let's go to your rookie of the year. We already mentioned it. We don't really have to harp on it. You just picked Jaden Daniels for the
Jaden
reasons.
Daniels, he's number 2 in the polls right now, and I trust him and the Commanders having a better season than maybe not a better season, but yeah, having a better season than the Bills and Caleb Williams. I think the hype's going to be too much for Caleb to handle.
Yeah. I completely disagree. My rookie of the year is just Caleb Williams. He's already being talked about as the best quarterback in Bears history. There's already analysts being like,
you're forgetting Jay Cutler. You're forgetting about Jay Cutler. Come on, our boy.
But all I'm saying is he literally has to start all 17 games and throw more. He could throw 25 touchdowns and 24 picks, and they're still going to pick him as the rookie of the year. Basically, he just has to start all the games. They can go 1-15, and he'll still win rookie of the year. It's going to happen. As far as MVP, Casino, you picked CJ Stroud. Why did you pick CJ Stroud?
Because I think he's going to piggyback off of last year. As you see, I have the Texans doing very well this season. I have them winning their division. I have them doing very well. I could even see this. And my son agrees. I could even see this team upsetting potentially either the Ravens or the Chiefs, and to make the conference championship game. I like CJ Stroud. I think he's going to go rookie of the year to MVP of the year. He's going to put up numbers. This division is very weak. I don't see how he can't be as good as he was last year, if not better. I just can't see it. I think it's a strong pick. I like CJ. He's big. He's got a good team behind him now. They've put a lot into him. Again, weak division, fairly easier. If I recall right, fairly easier season for the Texans. I think he pulls it off. I think he gets that MVP.
Yeah. And mine, I was thinking, and I was like, my number 1 seed is the Ravens. They're not going to give it to Lamar Jackson again. I don't think Jared Goff has enough respect in the league to be given the MVP. I don't think they would give it to Jalen Hurts, also because I didn't want to be a homer and get and have to make that case. So I just went chalk. Patrick Mahomes.
Gross.
He doesn't, they just never give him MVP. I'm looking up how many times he's won it. I feel like this will be one of those things where he'll win this year because of what he did last year. So he has only won, I believe, one MVP. Or no, he's won 2 but he hasn't won it since 2022. This will technically be the 2024-2025 season. So he hasn't won it in 2 years. I really do think the Chiefs are going to have a down year this year, but Mahomes is going to be so incredible that they're going to be like, we have to give it to him. He's the best quarterback in the league.
Okay, but you have, all right, let me counter that real quick, though. You have the Chargers beating the Chiefs for the division, right? Okay, so you have him playing games where he's not going to win. Yes, he might put up stats, but ultimately you need wins to be considered.
Well, I still think they're going to be a 10-11 win team. I just think the Chargers are going to be better. But this is one of those things where
I think I honestly think the Texans will have the Texans might have no, I don't.
I was going to go again. I wanted to go Lamar Jackson again, but I don't
I think the Texans might be like a game behind the Chiefs, but I think the numbers that Stroud's going to be able to put up in a weaker division, he's going to have more touchdown to interception ratio is going to be much better. His numbers are going to be cleaner. His QBR is going to be higher. That's just my take on it. I obviously throwing it out there, having Mahomes as the MVP is not wild by any take, especially everything that he does. But I'm just going to go off of numbers wise. I think Stroud, with an easier division, with an easier schedule, is going to put up higher numbers and have a couple blowout games probably where those numbers are going to help him to win this MVP.
Yeah, last year Mahomes only threw 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. The years he won MVP, he threw 50 touchdowns, 12 interceptions.
Jeez, 50 touchdowns.
And then 41 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. So again, I think if he could potentially have a 40-10 season again, I think they're going to be like.
But see, that's what I think Stroud. That's what I think Stroud's going to have easily.
Well, we'll see, Casino. So just to recap, here. In the NFC, I have the Lions as the number 1 seed, followed by the Eagles, Rams, Falcons, with the 49ers, Packers, and Buccaneers being my wildcard teams. Casino has also the Lions being the number 1 seed, followed by the Eagles, 49er, Falcons winning their divisions, and then the Packers, Commanders, Bucks being the wildcard teams. On the AFC side, Casino has the Chiefs as the number 1 seed. I have the Ravens. Followed by the Dolphins, Chargers, Texans, with the wild card teams being the Chiefs, Bills, Jaguars. Casino has the Chiefs being the number 1 seed, followed by the Ravens, Texans, Bills, Bengals, Chargers, and Dolphins. I have an Eagles versus Chiefs Super Bowl. My heart wants me to pick the Eagles. My credibility says it's going to be the Chiefs again. They're going to make history. It's going to annoy everyone. And then Casino has a Ravens-Lions Super Bowl, which we should have got last year, where the Lions are going to win.
It's going to happen this year. The fans want it. I quick note on that. I think that the backlash of obviously Niners Chiefs was great. Everybody wanted that, but there was so many people, and now it's known by Roger Goodell that Ravens-Lions was wanted. I think he makes it happen.
Ooh.
Or lets it happen. Makes it happen, lets it happen. He doesn't control.
People don't like when you go conspiracy theory, which I don't understand because we see
it's not a conspiracy theory. The players hate him. The players think that this is true. Players in the NFL think this is true. Like, come on.
Odds Casino that the Chiefs do make history and win a 3rd Super Bowl in a row, first time ever. Because I think at this point it's like an 80% chance of it happening.
65.
God, it's gonna happen. It's gonna be that.